You bring your phone everywhere. Work, school, the movies. Now you can bring it to an Xfinity store for an easy way to switch to Xfinity Mobile, a new kind of network designed to save you money. You can get up to 5 lines of talk and text included with Xfinity Internet at no extra cost, so all you pay for is data. It's never been easier to switch to Xfinity Mobile and keep the phone you love. Click here to see how. Sorry, I gotta take this. Restrictions apply. Limited to select mobile phones. Requires activation of a new line of Xfinity Mobile. Up to 5 devices per account. New Xfinity Internet customers limited to up to 2 lines pending activation of Internet service.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting show of Supernatural Girls Radio. I am your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host all the way from Tucson, Patricia Kirkman. PK, how are you tonight?
Absolutely fabulous, and cannot wait for our special guest tonight.
Oh, my God. This is going to be the most exciting show ever, don't you think?
I think so. I have to agree with you.
Yes, it will be. I am certain of that. Now, we're not going to do too much, chitter chatter like we normally do, because this guest has so much to share with us tonight. So we're going to talk about the numbers because it looks like all hell's breaking loose with North Korea and other things. So what's going on? What do we have to look out for tonight and tomorrow?
Well, I think the most important part is this is a new month. Let's just talk about the month instead of the days. The month itself deals with everybody wanting something to be perfect. We know that that doesn't work. And too many people are trying to put their nose into positions that they're not supposed to be, which is going to create some backlash. That might be part of what we're seeing on the world stage. But for the most part, it's all about family type situations, and really working in a way that's more positive. But alternative medicines, alternative avenues, anything that we could find on the alternative side will work very well for us. If we try to go the old conventional route, we're going to have some major problems.
That sounds reasonable to me. I'm always for the alternative way. So that sounds like a plan. I like it.
Well,
I like it a lot.
Directed to the point. That's what we've got going on right now. And there's nothing that's going to change this at this point in time. It's just get on the wagon and ride the course.
All right. We're going to ride.
Yeah.
I wanted to let everybody know we are now on video.
Yes.
So how about it? Our audience can now watch us as we talk to them and to each other. And what they need to do is go to the chat room, irnchat.com. That's irnchat.com. Click on the menu and click on Tube. And if you do that, you're going to be able to see us. How cool is that? You can see all three of us tonight. So I'm excited to share our little faces with the rest of our audience. You can still write questions in the chat room. We will ask them of our guest tonight on your behalf. And also, we do have some terrific stories on our Facebook page. We have a trail cam shot of a little girl. Is it a little girl? That's the question. Is it a ghost, a little girl, or a black-eyed kid? We want to hear from you. What do you think it is? Go to our Facebook page, take a look. And Kurt Russell, he's come out of the closet and said he had a UFO experience with his son. So he has announced that to the world. Hooray. Thank you, Kurt, for sharing that with the rest of us. So it's good to hear from people who are celebrities and have had these experiences and aren't afraid to come out and tell people about it. Right?
I think it's important that we share the information we have. Too many people have been fearful because of being put down by their neighbors or friends or family members. Let's face it, anybody today that does something that is considered a little bit off color, the whole world goes a little crazy over it.
Well, yeah, that's got to come to a stop. We're sick of it. All of the people that we know, all of the friends we have that are true abductees that have had these UFO encounters, we open our hearts to them. We love these people because they've had the courage to come out and talk about it. Travis Walton, Betty Andreasen, Bob Luca, they're all a part of our tribe here. They've all been on the show. They've all come and shared their truth. And that's what it is. It's the truth. But tonight, we are honored. I mean, honored to have with us a great guest, John Edmonds. And, I love the fact that John's going to come on and talk about his alien ranch experiences. But you know what I love the most about John? He has a heart as big as he is. He is all heart, don't you think?
I think at least bigger.
That's right. And it's great. It is so great to have somebody on the show with such a big heart. John, besides all the other things that he's involved with, he has a charity, and I'm going to announce this right now because it's really important now that we have everybody's attention. The name of it is called Hopeful Hooves, HOOVES.org. It is a 501c3, and I want to urge everybody in our audience to donate to this charity. It is to save the horses that have been abandoned out in the Arizona desert. I mean, John has taken this upon himself. He's also saved dogs that have been left out in the desert to die. I mean, this is a great man, and please, let's all help him and his wife with the great work that they're doing to help these animals. It's very expensive to feed these horses, and it's very expensive if they need medical care. So I'm asking everybody in the audience, please send whatever you can, even if it's $5. You can send that. You can go right to John's website, which is alienranch.weebly, WEEBLY.com. And I'm going to put that on our site as well so people can find it. And you can find a place there to donate. You can contact John from that page. Also, if you want to just send a check to the ranch, but you'd be doing a great thing in helping out, because there's nobody else really doing the work he's doing, as far as I know, with these horses. So we got to help him out, everybody. So let's do it. All right?
Great idea.
Let's get John on this show. I can't wait to talk to this guy. My God. This is great. Well, John Edmonds of the Alien Ranch, also known as the Stardust Ranch, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. You've been through so much. My goodness, there's so much to talk about tonight, so much to learn. And again, we're just honored that you're with us. Tell us again a little bit about the beginning of the story, because I know this was your dream property. This is what you left Phoenix for, was to come. We actually left the Midwest for, right? Chicago area to come out.
Yeah, actually what happened was that I am originally from Evanston, Illinois, right up next to Northwestern University. And, all my life growing up in Chicago and Evanston, I always watched, WGN, the superstation, even before it was a superstation. And they always had cowboy, TV shows on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And so I'd get up and I'd watch, the Lone Ranger, and I'd watch, all these different, Rawhide and all these different shows. And I thought, man, that's the greatest thing in the world. I want to have horses. I want to have a ranch. I didn't really want to be a cowboy. I just wanted to have horses. And, and I asked my mom and my dad, and I said, why can't we move to Arizona? And they said, well, we live in Evanston. We're not going to go out there. And I said, but we could have horses out there. And they're like, too bad, no horses. And I said, well, what is it going to take for me to get horses? And they said, you're going to have to get a really good job. You're going to have to save your money, and you're going to have to wait until you're old enough to do it. Well, I took that absolutely at heart, and I started, getting paper routes. I started taking back soda bottles, and you name it, whatever I could do. I was out there hustling, all over as hard as I could and saving the money. I worked as a golf caddy, you name it, whatever I could do. Wash cars, paint numbers on curbs. It didn't matter what it was. And I saved up a heck of a lot of money. And finally, when I got to the point where I thought I had enough, I decided to come out and go to school at Arizona State University and get my degrees. And so I did that. And in the process, I decided after that, I started getting good jobs. And I thought, hey, this is it. I'm going to finally have horses. And my wife and I got together, and we decided that, okay, my wife kind of put up with it. And she was from Wisconsin, and her one thing in her whole life was, I don't want to live on a dairy. So I was like, well, it's not a dairy, it's horses. They're different. And
That's
so
right.
she kind of grudgingly went along with it. And we ended up, walking around, looking at all these properties out here. We finally found Stardust Ranch. Of course, it wasn't Stardust Ranch back then. And, we bought it. I paid cash for it, and I thought, this is my dream. I'm finally going to have horses. And, we were here June 1st of 1996, and from the very first day that we moved in here, things went crazy. The people that we bought the ranch from didn't move out. In fact, they just took the cash, and they were like, move out? What do you mean? And we literally had to, make arrangements to move in late. And when we went to move in, we found all their stuff in the pool, a big, big diving pool behind the house. And we had nothing to do with it. We weren't even there. And as far as I know, the realtor wasn't involved. So I have no idea how it happened, and they never told us, and we never saw them again. So
now,
all
was
we
the
know is,
stuff, I have a question for you about that. Was
Sure.
there stuff like neatly piled up in the swimming pool, or was it just thrown into the swimming pool?
it was just thrown in. I mean,
Just
it was
thrown
like
in.
appliances,
And
you
this is
name
good
it.
stuff, huh? This is good stuff.
This was, yeah. I mean, this was like, I felt bad. I mean, I was angry because of what happened. But at the same time, I thought to myself, this is their stuff. I'm not going to try to keep it or anything. So I got a winch and hooked it up to my truck and pulled everything out of the pool that was too big for me to lift. And then I took it and put it out front. And people came and took it. It disappeared. So I don't know what happened to it, but somebody used it.
So that was mystery number one.
Well, they
That
should
was
have.
the very
started
first
it.
day.
Okay. After not
Sorry.
letting you move in, it was only fair that they had to go through a bit of an upset themselves.
Well, I don't know. I mean, from day one, things were strange. And, the following weekend elapsed. My wife went back to work. I started calling the phone company to get a phone hooked up, and it was like crazy trying to get a phone out here. Nobody wanted to come out to the ranch. And they kept making appointments with me, and nobody would show up. And after about the third appointment, I finally got on my cell phone, and I called them and I said, look, guys, I need a phone, a regular landline. I'm going to need to be able to have internet service, all that kind of stuff. What is the problem? You guys just can't find the ranch, or you just don't really care about your job, or what's the problem? And they said, nobody wants to go out there. And I said, well, why not? And they said, well, they're afraid. And I said, afraid? I said, there's just two of us out here. We're nice people. We're from the Midwest. It's not like we've done anything to anybody to scare them. And they said, well, we're going to have to figure it out, but we'll get back to you. So finally, they made an appointment. Somebody came out, and the guy explained everything to me. And he told me about the history of this place. And my mouth just hung open. I was absolutely shocked. This place has a really, really dark history. And that's why nobody wanted to come out to put the phone in. They actually had to have, draw straws. And, the guy that lost,
Short
had to come
straw.
out.
He had to come
Yeah.
out.
He had to come out and put the phone in.
Oh, my.
But he was really nice about it when he got out here, and he explained everything to me, and he apologized. And he said, it's not superstition. There's people that have died on the property. There's, all sorts of horrible stuff has happened out here. And, of course, the realtor never told me any of this. I don't even know that he knew anything about it. But, all the neighbors were afraid of us. They were like, oh, my God, I can't believe those guys bought that place, So, we just,
Wow.
we were horrified, but, we paid cash and, we bought an extended warranty, but it didn't cover aliens and it didn't cover all the other stuff out here.
I don't know why not.
Yeah. Gee, they should have a warranty for that. Well, now you also encountered, as I recall, a very interesting character one of your first few days out there that came
Yes.
wandering up your driveway. Tell us about
Yes.
that.
That is the machete man that everybody loves to talk about. I was putting away things in the kitchen, and I looked out the window, and this kind of disheveled-looking man that looked like, unfortunately, a stereotypical kind of Vietnam veteran with very long hair, Army clothes that had been, had the arms, the sleeves cut off, and the pants cut off, and just, he just kind of looked like a mess. And he had this machete with a leather tong that was attached to it, and he had it wrapped around his right hand, and he just kind of swung it, back and forth, and he came right up the driveway, like he lived here. And so I thought, wow, this is going to be interesting. And I had heard that living in the desert, it's probably a good idea to have at least one handgun or one rifle or maybe one of both. And so I had gone out and purchased a .357 Magnum, and I took that and put it down the back of my pants, kind of gangland style, and walked out to meet him. And I said, hi, what are you doing here? And he just looked at me and he says, well, I live here. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, God, here we go. And I said, well, what do you do here? And he says, well, I'm the guy that kills the monsters. And I said, monsters? There's some monsters out here. It's in the middle of the desert. There's nothing out here. And he just looked at me and his eyes got real big. And he said to me, there's lots of monsters out here. And I said, okay, so tell me about this. And he says, well, I live back there in that building back there. And I said, well, that's going to be my tack room. This is going to be a horse ranch. And, if you got your stuff back there, I'd appreciate it if you go back there and gather it up. Because I don't really need anybody to kill the monsters. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, this is kind of, some scam of a guy that just, wants to kind of squat on the property. And maybe the owners hadn't been here very much. And so he got away with it. And I was nice about it. And I told him, I said, it's nothing about you personally. I just don't think I need anybody to be a monster killer. This isn't going to be, this isn't a monster ranch. This is a horse ranch.
Little did you know.
Yeah, I had no idea, And he just looked at me and he smiled and he shook his head like, man, this guy's an idiot. He's going to be really sorry, but too bad for him. And, he went back and he got his stuff and he tied up all his junk in a white sheet and kind of, wrapped it up and threw it over his shoulder and came back up toward the house where I was. And he just looked at me and he said, well, you're going to be really sorry. And I said, well, I'm already sorry, but I don't want to be any sorrier. And he just shook his head and he walked off into the sunset. And that was the last I ever saw of him.
So you never saw him again. Wow.
I've never seen him again. He's been very well portrayed a couple of times with things we've done with TV, but that's the closest we've ever come to seeing him again.
And the previous owners, you've never encountered them either, right?
They just disappeared. I have no idea what happened to them. They literally worked in the military, and I guess they transferred, or I don't know what happened to them. They just never came back. The interesting thing was, though, that the original owner, I was outside working with the horses one day a few years ago, and the guy who originally built the property back in the 70s drove through the front gates, and I had no idea who he was, of course, and he drove up in this white pickup truck, and I walked over and greeted him, and he said, are you the owner? And I said, yes. And he said, well, I'm the guy that built this place. And I just looked at him and I said, so you're the guy I need to blame for everything that's gone wrong with this place. And he just looked at me and he kind of started looking, and I looked at him, and then he smiled and I smiled, and then he introduced himself and I introduced myself. And, he proceeded for like the next hour to tell me all sorts of stories about what happened here. And he gave me photographs of the house and everything as he built it, because he did it himself. He was literally a guy who did custom building, and he built this place because of the fact that he wanted it to be a surprise for his wife. And the day that he brought her out here to present his great surprise, I guess she just about fell over and decided that it was not a good place to live, and that she had all sorts of bad feelings about it from an energetic point of view. And she said, I'm not moving out there. I'll divorce you before I'll move out there.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so she never moved in. He never moved in. And they ended up just selling this place for whatever they could get for it back about 1978. And that was the beginning of the end.
Gosh. So she had bad feelings. Now your wife also had bad feelings, right?
Well, yeah, and I'm not so sure how much of that was about the ranch and how much of it was about me, really. But I mean, I really didn't mean to trick her. But she never asked me what I wanted to do with my life, and I always told her I wanted to write, I wanted to do music again, and I wanted to do a few different projects. But I told her, I said, someday I'd like to have some horses, but I think that went in one ear and went out the other. And so, by the time we got married, she thought, thank God I didn't marry a rancher. I married this guy from Evanston, Illinois, right next to Chicago. He's real urban. No chance am I going to end up on a farm. Well, as soon as we got married and, I decided that I wanted to have horses, one day she just looked at me and she goes, what are you thinking about? And I said, well, I've decided to have a farm. And she just, my wife, her head practically spun around when pea soup shooting
bet it
out.
did.
It's like something out of The Exorcist. She was horrified.
And then to have all this happen on top of it. To have all these experiences, it made you, I'm sure, all feel out of control and at the mercy of things that were from another universe, literally.
Exactly. And see, we didn't, we didn't know any of that stuff coming into this. We saw lights in the sky, in the south sky. We saw these, like what we used to call golden orbs. And honestly, when I first saw all that stuff, I thought it was kind of cool. I was like, wow, this is like I'm out here in the middle of nowhere and, it's kind of spooky. And, I was thinking to myself, this isn't so bad. This is kind of cool. Yeah. And then unfortunately, really bad things started happening. And we started finding dead animals around the ranch. We started just seeing, bad things and started getting real creeped out by it. And my wife looked at me and she's like, it's bad enough you had to buy a ranch, but then you had to buy this really crappy one that, everything's going wrong, And I was just like, so this is what being married's about. And, I apologized, I apologized profusely. And I told her I loved her and I said, I'm sorry. How could I possibly know? It's not like I went out and, lived on a ranch all my life. I didn't know what to look for. It was a good price. Nice property, good views, plenty of water. I thought, hey, I got this thing nailed. I had no idea what I'd, stepped in. I stepped in the dirtiest, nastiest mess that you could ever step in. And we've been here ever since.
But I have to say, PK and I were talking about you and your wife, and you've really been able to manage a lot of this stuff. But let's go back to when the bad stuff started to happen to you, because you mentioned your animals. That would kill me right there. Mm-hmm. If anybody touched my animals, I would be out of my mind and I would be running around with weapons hanging off of me. But then it switched. You became the target, right? You and your wife.
Well, see, yeah, what happened was that we started. First of all, I should explain something, and that was that I had been working, pretty much right up till that time when we had the ranch, and I had actually gotten my back broken working at the state hospital here in Arizona. And so I was on disability at the time. And I thought to myself, I'm going to go out in the desert and see what's out here. Because quite frankly, you look out in the desert around here, you can see 15 to 18 miles, literally, perfectly. Not even with glasses or anything, it's just amazing. And so I thought I'm going to go out and explore, and I've always been kind of an explorer anyway. So that kind of came naturally. And I'd go out in the desert and I'd find all these horses. And I thought, wow, this is really beautiful. It's out here. And I noticed some of the horses look really skinny. They didn't look that healthy. And I thought, wow, I got to do something about this. So with my Jeep, I started bringing out bags of feed, and I started feeding the horses. Well, next thing I know, I'm like surrounded by horses. I'm like the good humor man of horses. And, every horse that's like, hungry in the world practically seemed like it was coming up to my Jeep and, getting some food. And so finally I thought, what, why go out and spend a lot of money and buy horses? You got all these horses right here. Maybe they'd like to come back to the ranch. And so it was about a 8 to 10 mile walk, but for a horse, that's not a big walk. And so, gradually what I did was I just started feeding the horses as I drove, and they started following me home. And so the whole herd came home with me. And that's how we got horses. But the reason I tell you that is because now we have horses on the ranch, and, you know, they're corralled, and I'm living my dream, and I'm thinking, wow, how cool am I? And next thing I know, some of the horses started getting murdered. And it broke my heart. I mean, here I am. I finally got my dream. I got my ranch, you know, and I got it at a good price, and I'm clapping myself on the back, and I'm trying to ignore my wife is pissed off at me and all this bad stuff's happening. But, you know, I'm still saying, hey, it's still a dream. You did it, you know. But unfortunately, some of the horses got mutilated. There was like 3 horses over about a year that something attacked them in their pens, and literally, I mean, it's horrible to say this. If there's kids listening, cover your ears. But they literally went in and they pulled the guts out through the anus of the horse.
Oh my
They
God.
pulled the eyes out. They tore the eyes out. They cut the feet off. I mean, they did horrible things to these horses. And it was very clear that it was not a human being or anybody that I could think of that could ever do this, because there was no blood, and the cuts on the horses were absolutely like somebody did it with a laser. I mean, they were absolutely precision cuts. And there was no blood. I mean, all the blood was gone. They were sanguinated. You know, it's just crazy. And you know, the horses
And
had
it's
tried
mean. And it's like, why? What is it that gives these aliens in their own little minds the right to do this kind of thing? I mean, we care so much about our animals. We love them. And obviously, you've gone out of your way to take care of these animals, and then to have these creatures from outer space or wherever the hell they're from come and do that is absolutely unacceptable. That's awful.
You're absolutely right about everything you just said, but what we have found out over the years, and that is there are certain types of malevolent aliens that they get almost the equivalent of like a cocaine rush off of the tremendous negative energy and emotion that we express as humans. And so they love to do things to just, you know, make our lives miserable, because of the fact that by doing that, we put out all this, you know, juicy hormonal, you know, material, and they just manage to absorb it and enjoy it. And that's why they do it.
Horrible.
But you'd have to kind of read down the story of ways to have that information, I mean, in the correct setting. But I digress a little bit just to answer your question. So I filed all the reports with the Arizona Livestock Board. I called the Sheriff's Department. I did everything that I could humanly do to try to, you know, shed some light on the situation.
Excuse me one second, John. I'm hearing some odd noises.
You're hearing the dogs.
Oh, okay. Are they all right?
In the background. Yeah, they're fine. But
okay.
Periodically, you know, they just start whining, and
it's okay, as long as they're all right. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, no, they're fine. We get harassed here 24/7 by different things, and the animals react to it, and that's what you're hearing. The dogs were reacting. I have 4 cats, and those cats constantly patrol the inside of the house, and anytime that they see something, they attack it. They don't attack people, but they attack these beings, and they'll scratch the heck out of them. They'll bite them. They'll do anything they can to try to run them off, which is pretty strange behavior for kitties. But I mean, they're like watch kitties, you know. But they like to sleep on a chair in the portal. They love the energy that comes out of the portal, and anytime something is going to go on, they get together and they chase it down.
Good for them.
Now, sounds.
Now, it doesn't sound weird to us at all, but when did it switch from the attention on the animals and doing the horrible things they did to the animals to you and your wife?
About 2007, we started, well, it was even earlier than that. I mean, we've been here since 96. It would have been about 2002 to 3 that things really shifted from animals to people. And the very first time that it happened, my wife and I were in bed, and my wife has sleep apnea as well, so she has a tendency to snore real bad. And so she wears a sleep apnea mask. So when she puts on her mask at night and she turns in for the night, I mean, she's out of commission. She's turned off. That's the end of it. You couldn't wake her up with practically in any way, shape, or form.
I'm going to ask you to hold that thought, because we're going to have to take a very short commercial break and come right back to hear the rest of the story. It's amazing, John. So again, everybody stay tuned. You are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio. We are speaking with a terrific guest tonight, John Edmonds, and PK and I will be right back.
Listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Do you want more out of life? CreativeStrength.us can help you turn your dreams into a reality. Do you suffer from common health issues or stress? Are you sick of living day after day in pain and anxiety? Have you tried traditional methods but see no results? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then the 15-day Scalar Energy Healing free trial is perfect for you. When you sign up for the Scalar Energy free trial, you'll get 3 free treatments: a pathogenic cleanse, nutrient therapy, and chakra balance for every day of the 15-day trial. Go to CreativeStrength.us to learn more about this free trial and sign up. There is no credit card required, only your willingness to improve your life. Anyone, anywhere in the world can register for this free trial of Scalar Energy treatments. Healing energy is all around us, and now CreativeStrength.us has a way to help you harness it to improve your daily life. Only a picture of your...
You're Paul. I'm the new Sprint intern.
Sprint plus...
Intern. Yeah, clever, right? Look at getting an amazing iPhone 8.
Yeah, because...
They have an all-glass design, advanced cameras.
I'm going to
give your second phone to your new friend. Wow, Paul!
Now lease one iPhone 8 and get a second one on us. Visit your local Sprint store, sprint.com/iPhone, or call 1-800-SPRINT1 today.
iPhone 8 64GB, $29.17 a month. Second iPhone 8 after $29.17 a month. Credit applied within 2 bills. Requires 2 new lines or 1 new and 1 upgrade with 18-month leases. Early termination results in full balance due. Excludes tax subject to credit and third activation. Restrictions apply.
Self is needed to be treated with Scalar Energy. Simply email your photo and enjoy the Scalar Energy treatments. You can experience the miraculous, life-changing powers of Scalar Energy Healing from the comfort of your own home. Visit CreativeStrength.us. Change your life for the better, effortlessly. Go to CreativeStrength.us today.
Hi, can you hear my voice? Imagine how many other people can hear it too. If you have advertising needs, then look no further. The Inception Radio Network currently has openings for on-air advertisements and radio show sponsorships. Given any thought to your target demographic? Inception has you covered there too. Advertising on a network gives you multiple opportunities to advertise on a wide variety of radio show broadcasts, and we have one to fit every advertising need. You know, in recent years, internet radio has exhibited a phenomenal listener growth. An Arbitron Edison survey shows that online radio boosts at least 33 million unique visitors each week and 54 million each month. And that number amazingly continues to grow. And these listeners are a part of many businesses' core demographics. And surveys have shown that internet radio listeners are far more likely than regular radio listeners to spend money on a whole range of activities. You know, internet listeners vote, they dine out and eat fast food, and they grab a cup of coffee. And here's the interesting one. They buy items online at a much higher rate than all other market segments combined. Internet radio also enables businesses to connect with consumers during work hours, where increasingly more lifestyle decisions are being made. Advertise with the best. The Inception Radio Network offers competitive advertising rates to fit just about anyone's advertising budget. Stop by today at www.inceptionradionetwork.com or call us toll-free at 1-888-919-2355. Get the word out. Get results with the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I'm here with my co-host, PK, and our amazing guest tonight, John Edmonds from the Alien Ranch. Oh, my God, John. This is quite something. Now, we were talking about how the focal point went from hurting your animals and mutilating your animals to coming after you and your wife. So you were talking about your wife having a CPAP system on to help her breathe at night. And what happens from there?
Well, actually what happened, Patricia, was the fact that when they started appearing in the house at about the same time as I was just talking about, that's when we started having, all the run-ins with them directly. Before that, it was, like I said, directed at the animals. There were things going outside, happening outside, experiences that we really couldn't understand, but we hadn't gotten to the point yet where we were at all fearful for our own lives or just concerned that they were even going to come in the house. And then all of a sudden, one night, my wife was asleep next to me. She had her mask on, and I started sensing that there was something in the room. And I thought to myself, wow, what is this? I hope it's not going to be those same bad guys. Unfortunately, it turned out it was. And I had a little aluminum baseball bat that was left over from a Cubs spring training game. And I had that kind of stuck down in the headrail or side rail of the bed. And so as these creatures began to kind of come forward, I could see them in a shadowy silhouette kind of way. I waited until one got close enough. And then the next thing I knew, I actually felt this hand on my left forearm. And I thought, well, that's good enough for me. I'm not hallucinating. This is for real. And I grabbed that baseball bat and I turned around and I cocked it right in the head as hard as I could.
Wow.
it just stood there for a second and it froze. And I thought, wow, I thought I hit it pretty hard. And I hit it again. And so I smacked him a second time. And this time it just literally just disappeared. It just went whoosh, and it was gone. And I thought, wow, man, I'm good. I really nailed it. And but the other two disappeared at the same time. And I rolled over and I shook my wife, and she growled at me, and I said, honey, you're not going to believe this, but we got aliens. And she pulled down her mask and she goes, really? You're going to wake me up and tell me that we got aliens? Where are they? And I said, well, they were just here. And she's like, yeah, right, whatever. Go back to sleep. So she rolled over and she went back to sleep. She didn't even take it seriously.
You know what I find so interesting, though? Let me stop you for a second, John, because, most people that have encounters with these aliens, especially like the Greys that you've been describing that you first encountered, they are so unconscious. They don't have the wherewithal to grab a bat and smack the crap out of them. They're like I don't know what they're being treated with, if it's some type of mind control or some technology that they have that renders them unable to physically attack them. But that doesn't work on you, apparently.
I'm from Chicago.
I should have known.
I mean, I'm serious, I mean, I grew up tough. And, on the streets of Chicago, you got to be ready for anything. And, so I was. I've always, my whole life, I've always been ready.
You have a special consciousness that they cannot override, or they would have. So you must have some expanded level of consciousness that allows you almost to meet them at their own level, and that's really, really unusual, I got to say. Don't you think, PK? That's we've never heard this before.
Amazed at how he's able to handle these things.
And smack them twice, That's great. Good for you.
Well, and the thing about it is we had a pit bull named Daisy, and she used to sleep at the foot of the bed on the ground. And she was really cool about it because she knew they were there, and she got up and she tried to chase one. And because they always show up in threes. They never come by themselves. They never come, like two of them. There's always three. I don't know what it is about three, but that's how they travel. And she literally almost chased one right through the door. I mean, one of them, just took off and went literally right through a wooden door, a hollow core door. And Daisy hit the door so hard that she actually put a dent in it with her head.
Oh, no. Poor Daisy.
That's right.
And this is the same dog that they killed, on 3/13 of this year.
Those bastards.
She was around for a lot of years. And she was a rescue that, was very near and dear to me. And, I just, it breaks my heart to know what happened the way it happened, but, it couldn't be prevented.
It's horrible. And again, I find it so hideous and appalling that they treat animals with this way. It's such incredible disrespect, not only for the animal, but for our feelings towards our animals. It's just unacceptable. So this was your first introduction to them, and you were able to get by their mind control and give them a good smack twice with your aluminum baseball bat. So now what? I mean, you must have gotten up in the morning with your wife and thought, what are we going to do now?
Well, and she woke me, she woke me up the next day and looked at me and she said, did you actually tell me that you smacked an alien? And I said, yeah. And she says, well, what did you do that for? And I said, well, what do you mean, what did I do that for? They're not supposed to be in the bedroom. And she just looked at me and she was like, well, tell them to go outside. And I'm like, what do you mean tell them to go outside? They're not supposed to be here at all. And, but she didn't act real fearful or anything. She kind of sort of took it seriously. And we had coffee, and after that, she just, acted like it was no big deal. And I told her, I said, look, this is getting worse and worse. These things have been here on the property. They've been hurting the animals. I said, it's just a matter of time before we're going to start having a lot more problems with these things. And she's like, well, I want to move. And I said, okay, that's cool. I can understand that. I wouldn't mind moving either. But I said, I don't have another $1 million to throw into another ranch someplace. And I said, quite frankly, I don't know if we could get that kind of money for this one. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, maybe you should go back to Phoenix and get an apartment next to where your job is. And, you know, I'll try to delouse the ranch and get rid of all the aliens. And then after the coast is clear, you can come back. But she said, no, I don't want to do that. And I was like, well, okay, then just realize something. I offered to get you an apartment and, you know, take care of you, make you safe, and, you know, do everything I could to honor the situation. I said, I had no idea that I was buying a ranch full of aliens. And I said, you know, I'm trying to fix it. So, you know, she got mad at me, and for a while she was kind of a grump about it. But she understood that my heart was in the right place, and I was trying to do the right thing. And
you were protecting her. Now, has she ever had any physical altercations where she smacked him around too?
No. She's seen them. She has had them do really bad things where they came up and tried to choke her air hose on her mask.
No.
And, I mean, absolutely turned her blue, and then woke up gasping for air. And, you know, I mean, just really terrible things. My wife is a really sweet person, though. She's, you know, and quite frankly, I mean, she kind of tried to take the attitude of, well, try to talk to them and you know, try to work it out with them. And, you know, I was like, the hell with that. I'm going to slice and dice. I mean, we're going to, you know, we're going to fight here. And, you know, I mean, I tried to be nice to them, but they didn't want to, you know, they weren't in the mood. They didn't want to
play nice.
No, they weren't in the mood. And so the next thing that had to happen was the fact that I had to get rougher with them. And so I kept, you know, trying to figure out a way that I could do even more harm to them to run them off. But, you know, I live in a brick house, and it's brick inside as well as outside. And bullets do not go well in a house made of bricks.
Right.
And so, and I found it out the hard way because I actually one day had a run-in with one, and I shot it, and the bullet went right through him, and it bounced off, and it, you know, it was bad. It was really bad.
Shit.
Plus, it almost broke my eardrums. So I had to find a solution. The samurai sword was the next step, and it works great. It's the ultimate weapon for dispatching little gray aliens.
So the next time so they started coming through, they started giving you a hard time, bothering your wife. You bring out the samurai sword to teach them a lesson, and you actually succeeded in stabbing one of them. You ran one through with this thing.
I did. My wife was unusual because usually they used to come between midnight and 3 a.m. And I don't know what happened. I mean, we don't have daylight savings time in Arizona, so I don't know how they could have messed that up. But they, for some reason, showed up about 6 o'clock at night. And 3 of them showed up literally on our sun porch. And I grabbed the sword. I was just getting ready to go out to feed the dogs and take them out. And I saw these little guys standing there. And I thought, okay, here we go. You know, let's get it on. And I grabbed the sword, and I literally stabbed one right through its abdomen. And when I pulled out the sword, a big chunk came out that was about the size of like a ruby red grapefruit. And then I thought, okay, maybe I can cut the head off, and then I'll have something that I can really prove what I got here. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. When I went to swing to take the head, it just disappeared, and the other two disappeared as well. But I still had the big chunk of this particular one on the end of the sword, and I had a big puddle of, you know, fluid that looked like blood or some kind of bodily.
What color was it? What color was it?
The blood?
The fluid.
It looks like brake fluid. Kind of looks like dirty oil. You know, it's somewhere between a sort of a dark, almost a dark red color and a dark, like a sort of a syrupy color. And the only thing about it is it's very acidic. So it's like if it gets on your skin, it'll burn you. If it gets on cloth, it'll burn right through it. You know, but fortunately I had some glass doors that were right behind me, and the glass doors got pretty well covered with fluid. And so we were able to take a lot of samples from that. And like I said, I had this one big hunk. And so I took it off the sword, and I put it in a glass bottle, and I put it in the freezer. And well, actually in the refrigerator. And so here I am. Now I got a dead alien in my refrigerator. And, you know,
alien goo in your refrigerator. Even worse.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And his
Yep.
wife
And I was like, I labeled it, and some, my wife wouldn't make a mistake and, cook it up or something. And,
imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, here it was, and I had to explain to her what happened. And she was horrified, but, she was like, thank God I didn't come home a few minutes earlier. And, so I'm thinking to myself, I got to do something with this thing. What do I do with it? So I had been working as a producer for the Kevin Smith show. And so, Kevin Smith had on a lot of people that were in the paranormal community, the UFO community. And I ended up contacting one person in particular, and he helped me to find a scientist that I could talk to. And so Dr. Levengood came into the picture in Grass Lakes, Michigan, and he was somebody that had many, many years of dealing with the animal mutilations. And so he'd studied that and he knew a lot about it. And so I contacted him by phone, and he was kind of thrilled to hear what I had. And he said, can you send it to me? And I said, okay, how do I send it to you? And he goes, just use FedEx. So I'm probably the first person who ever FedExed an alien. And,
alien goo goes FedEx. I love it. Yep. So you got it there safely into Levengood's hands. And you actually, on your website, you have some of the results.
That's right? Yeah, he had the results for a few months, and he took them to some major universities, and he did, I guess, like what they call, blind box samples, where he didn't tell anybody what they were. He just submitted them to various different schools and asked their departments, to analyze exactly what these tissues were from. And when it came back, he sent me a letter, and he said, John, you have the smoking gun of absolute proof of alien visitation on Earth. The samples that were analyzed for DNA and analyzed for cell structure show a remarkable situation in the fact that they show not only hemoglobin, which is contained in blood, but also chlorophyll, which is common in plants. And so literally you have something from the animal kingdom and from the plant kingdom, but they're all in the same thing together, the same sample appearing simultaneously. And that doesn't happen. There's no animal or plant on Earth that sample could have come from. And so apparently that is the exact, smoking gun proof positive. And we have it.
Tremendous.
And he was going to release the information with me. We were going to have a big conference or a big news conference and do that. And then unfortunately something strange happened and he died. And then a few days later his wife died. So all the samples disappeared. The lab was shut down. And once again, like a typical X-file, we didn't get any results. All we got was what we had, and we never got anything past that. And so here we are today. We have, this proof and this evidence and plenty other, but it could have gone a lot further. Somehow or another, somebody intervened and shut it down.
What a surprise, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now I got to ask you, if you have any visits from the Men in Black?
We have. Very much so. And it's really strange because I didn't even know, realize something. I was not in the paranormal UFO community or anything else. I was in the social worker, psychiatric counselor community. I mean, I had no idea that there was something called Men in Black. And one day, an SUV, a dark blue SUV, Chevy or GMC SUV pulled up in front of the ranch, just south of the front gates, and two guys got out, and I could see that there were white government plates. And instead of, walking and, up to the gates, they literally just walked right through them. I mean, these gates were locked, okay, and they didn't have a key. And there's no way they could have just swung them open. They just walked right through them. It was like they dematerialized the gates somehow and walked through them. And they walked about 50 feet up to where I was standing with a friend of mine because we were actually cleaning guns. And I had a picnic table sitting right there that was underneath a big shaded area where I parked my cars. And we had about 10 guns on the picnic table that we were just happened to be cleaning and pulling clips in and out of and loading clips and all that good stuff that you do with guns. And these guys walk right up to me, and I greeted them, and I said, who are you, and what are you doing here? And that was a pretty neat trick you did, with the gates. How's that work? And these guys had absolutely no expressions on their face. They were the color of like if you went to the grocery store and you bought raw chicken, they looked like raw chicken. I mean, they were just this sort of whitish, grayish. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, they didn't look human. They didn't look like regular people. They were dressed in black. Actually, they kind of looked like the Blues Brothers, to tell you the truth. And, I mean, that's what they reminded me of, being from Chicago and all. But, I asked them, I said, what do you want? And they said, you need to stop posting notices of the things that you see on this ranch on the Cause website. And Peter Gersten, the UFO lawyer, was kind of big back in those days. And he used to have his own website called the Cause, C-A-U-S website. And I used to post everything that I saw, all the strange stuff on the ranch. They put it on his website. And so they told me to stop posting things. They told me basically to, just chill out and stop, talking about anything paranormal. And I just looked at the guy and I said, do you see what's on that table? That table's full of guns. And he just looked at me. It didn't bother him at all. And I just told him, I said, look, you need to get off my property and go away because I don't take threats well. And I said, you don't have any ID, or you don't want to show me any ID, because I had asked them both for ID and they refused to show me anything. They were clearly here just to make their point and then turn around and leave. And that's what they did. They just spun around on their heels and off they went.
And goodbye and good riddance. Gosh.
Yep, pretty much.
Wow. Now, I've got a whole bunch of questions coming out of the chat room, so I know we're eventually going to answer some of them because we're going to get to what's on your property that these aliens find so enticing.
I can
and
tell
that's
you
one
that
of the
pretty
questions.
much. Sure,
right
I'll
now.
Be happy to, I'll be happy to answer it.
That's what Denise is asking. She's saying, what is it about your property that they're so fascinated with?
Well, we have two portals. We have one that's a very large portal on the back of the property. This is a 10-acre property in the middle of about 600,000 or 700,000 acres of wild desert. And we have one that is in the living room. How convenient, right? And they apparently, these portals were here long before anybody built on the property, long before the Native Americans were here, long before it was used as a basically a dumping ground for artifacts and for actually we've dug up skulls, we've dug up all sorts of bones in the process of building things here. And so apparently this has been an important property for thousands of years. And during one of the sessions that we had where we had Elizabeth August, who is a person that I work with doing channeling for, through the portal in the living room. She's been able to gather all sorts of information about the property and about the things that have actually happened here. And one of the answers that came back was that this property, as I said earlier, Arizona has been part of the Egyptian kind of community that was spread out around the world and going back thousands and thousands of years. And so these portals are part of a network of portals. And apparently way, way, way back, the pyramids, portals, there was all sorts of ancient technology that has pretty much long been forgotten now. And but it was all in use back then. And so these gates or these portals are left over from that period.
Now you also have an aquifer with
Yes.
very special water, and you also have a mineral on your property that comes from, I think you said lightning? Has something to do with the formation of it? Fulgurite?
Well,
is that it?
Yeah, we have fulgurite. Because we live in a bowl, more or less, in terms of we're surrounded by the Australia mountains. When a storm gets in the bowl, it just goes around and around and around. And so when we have lightning storms, which we have frequently, it strikes the ground a lot. And so because of that, we have the fulgurite, because that's how fulgurite is made. It's actually sand and other materials that when they come in contact with extreme energy, it creates fulgurite.
So there's a number of things that are attractive. You've got the two portals, you've got the fulgurite, you've got the aquifer with the special water. So it sounds like you've got all the right elements to keep drawing them in.
Yeah, we're like paranormal Walmart. I mean, we have it all.
One-stop shopping. How can they beat it?
Yeah, that's it. And we got everything but a drive-through.
God. You may have a drive-through, you just haven't found it yet. So, oh my goodness. Yes. Well, now I wanted to remind everybody to go to irnchat.com, Go to the menu, click on Tube, and you can see us. Because I want John to show everybody that beautiful samurai sword. We got to see it earlier, but I think you're going to want to see it too. And we've got so much more to talk about tonight. And we've got a big reveal coming up regarding North Korea. There it is. It's the sword. Oh, my God. Look at that. Sharp as can be.
I'll get up close. You can actually see that it still has, I think you can see some of the discoloration on it.
Yeah. Is that alien?
That is alien
goo.
Blood.
Alien chutzpah.
Yep.
Okay, we got to go to a break. But everybody, stay tuned. You're listening to Supernatural Girls Radio.
You're listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Do you want more out of life? CreativeStrength.us can help you turn your dreams into a reality. Do you suffer from common health issues or stress? Are you sick of living day after day in pain and anxiety? Have you tried traditional methods but see no results? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then the 15-day Scalar Energy Healing free trial is perfect for you. When you sign up for the Scalar Energy free trial, you'll get 3 free treatments.
You're Paul. I'm the new Sprint intern.
Sprint plus
intern. Yeah, clever, right? Look at getting an amazing iPhone 8.
Yeah, because
they have an all-glass design, advanced cameras.
I'm going to
give your second phone to your new friend. Wow, Paul.
Now lease one iPhone 8 and give a second one on us. Visit your local Sprint store, sprint.com/iPhone, or call 1-800-SPRINT1 today.
iPhone 8 64 gigabyte, $29.17 a month. Second iPhone 8 after $29.17 a month. Credit applied within 2 bills. Requires 2 new lines or 1 new and 1 upgrade with 18-month leases. Early termination results in full balance due. Excludes tax subject to credit and third activation restrictions apply.
A pathogenic cleanse, nutrient therapy, and chakra balance for every day of the 15-day trial. Go to CreativeStrength.us to learn more about this free trial and sign up. There is no credit card required, only your willingness to improve your life. Anyone, anywhere in the world can register for this free trial of Scalar Energy treatments. Healing energy is all around us, and now CreativeStrength.us has a way to help you harness it to improve your daily life. Only a picture of yourself is needed to be treated with Scalar Energy. Simply email your photo and enjoy the Scalar Energy treatments. you can experience the miraculous, life-changing powers of scalar energy healing from the comfort of your own home. Visit creativestrength.us. Change your life for the better, effortlessly. Go to creativestrength.us today.
Hello, Inception Radio Network. Would you like your favorite show to be played again live on air? Well, now the choice is in your hands with IRN's live request portal, an easy way to request your favorite show with a simple click. IRN's live request portal now gives you exclusive access to all the shows. How easy is it? Simply type a show name or a guest name, click request, even write a dedication message, and that's it. Try it now. Simply visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, click on the live request tab under the show menu. Now playing your favorite show is just a mouse click away.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our amazing guest this evening, John Edmonds from the Alien Ranch. So we just saw your beautiful sword. It's amazing. And again, I think these aliens are crazy to mess with you. But here's a question from someone in our chat room called Publius, who is asking, do you feel you're being monitored by the government?
I absolutely am. Every phone call I have, every show I do, I've literally been on my computer during a show, because I had my own show for 12 seasons called Adventures into the Strange. And one day when I was doing my show, suddenly the screen changed in front of me, and this guy from the CIA showed up. And it said literally his name on his desk. It had a picture of the CIA behind him. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he smiled, and he waved at me, and I waved back at him, and then he went away. I was like, wow.
Incredible.
That's too funny. I just want to mention, PK, your room's getting foggy again.
I noticed that. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, oh, God, is it me?
Here we go again.
Yeah. My vision. And it is.
It's you. It's your room. There's something happening and the energy in your room is shifting. Everybody watching us on video right now should be able to see it, that PK's room was crystal clear before, and now it isn't. So something's going on over there. So we're going to keep taking pictures, see what we can capture. Now, John, you also had an offer from a lady who said she would bring to your property good aliens to help you out, to try to shift things for the better. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It sounds fascinating about what happened.
Well, as you know, the confrontation situation got worse and worse. I got more and more just upset about it. And I felt bad because eventually I had to close down my practice as a counselor and a therapist because I didn't feel that it was fair for me to be taking people's hard-earned money and then turn around and, kill aliens at night and live on an alien ranch and then try to provide, a real professional environment. Those things just don't go together, in the counseling community. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to resign my position, shut it down, and I did do that. But, that was a tremendous thing for me because I'd been a counselor and a very good one for a long time and been very successful at it. And I thought, I've got to find a way to get an answer here. So I kept putting questions out on the internet to various different chat rooms and various different email chains of people that were in the paranormal community. Finally, I got a call from a lady named Dr. Brandy is what she goes by. And her real name is Brandy Howe. And she said that she had been contacted by a lady and asked to go out to the ranch and help us out of the situation we were in. And so I was thrilled. I was like, man, anybody who's crazy enough to come out here, I'm gonna take them up on it.
Thank you very much.
So
yes.
She came out. She came out from Phoenix, and she had two individuals with her. And to look at them, pretty much they all looked pretty normal. Except for the fact they were dressed a little strangely and they were quite large people. And I thought, well, beggars can't be choosers. Let's just go with what we got. And I greeted them. We went in the house, and Dr. Brandy started going through the house. And Dr. B was looking at all the different rooms, and she could sense that there was a lot of negative energy in the house. And she said she thought that the spirit of a young male was still here. And in fact, there was a young man that had been the son of one of the families that had lived here. And he had committed suicide in the living room the day before he graduated from high school.
Okay, everybody, we are now back on the air. All of a sudden, we went dark and everybody got kicked off. However, we have a great producer named Joe Champion, and he got us back on the air. Now he's working to get John Edmonds back with us. We are watching all kinds of phenomenon going on here tonight. PK's room, if you've tuned into the video, you can see that her whole room is getting foggy. And there's no fog.
No, I look around the room, clear as a bell. Outside, clear as a bell. Except what you're visualizing here, it's foggy.
It's foggy. It's foggy. And so I was taking pictures, and all of a sudden the screen shifted and started showing all of the theater chairs behind me. So I took a bunch of pictures, and bam, we were off the air. John, I can see you now. You're back with us?
Hey, John.
I hope so.
Welcome back.
That was pretty wild. Okay, you can always kind of wild things going on Supernatural Girls. So you had this lady contact you. Let's get back to the most important part of this. And she actually brought real extraterrestrials, corporeal ones, to your ranch. And you guys had a long conversation on your ranch, John.
They spent 3 or 4 hours with us. And at first I was very skeptical because I didn't know Dr. B. And so I had no reason to believe anything that was going on, that it was absolutely real. And, so I kind of wanted to test it and make sure as best I could of what I was dealing with. And so I started asking them a lot of questions. And I had already had a list, as strange as it sounds, of questions in my own mind about things that if I ever met an ET, that I was going to ask. And, I know that sounds preposterous, but I always thought to myself, if you ever run into an ET, there's certain things you ought to ask. And so, I had a list. And they were very happy to answer questions. They were very decent with us. They They took their time and explained things, because a lot of the references and things that they explained, my wife and I just looked at each other like, this doesn't make any sense. We didn't know anything about what they were talking about. But they were very gracious with us, and they answered our questions, and I wanted answers to questions that I considered to be questions humanity needed answers to. And as we began to get to know each other a little bit, I told them, I said, one of the things that I think is terrible is the fact that we're living in an age when we have all this pollution. And I would like to get answers to being able to straighten out the pollution. And one of the things that they asked me about was, they said, well, what do you think the worst kind of pollution is? And I said, well, probably radiation. And they agreed with me, and they said, well, there's absolutely no good reason why you're dealing with the radiation problems that you're dealing with. And I said, well, how is that? And they said, well, if you go back to like 1968 or 1969, your government had two choices as far as plutonium or another element that they could have used to fuel the nuclear reactors that they built in America. And I said, well, why would that have made a difference? And the way they explained it is that the other element that they mentioned to me was an element that would burn 40 times more powerful, produce 40 times as much power, but it could not be weaponized. It couldn't pollute. I mean, you could walk right up to it in its raw form, or even after it had been used in a rod that was put into a nuclear reactor, and it wouldn't hurt anybody. And I said, well, why didn't the government choose to use those? And the answer was they couldn't weaponize it. They couldn't use it to create a product that they could use as exactly. And so they chose not to use it. And the models of those reactors became the models for every reactor around the world afterwards. And so today we are living with all of Fukushima and all of these problems with all these different, countries that want weapons, they want nuclear plants. You've got, Iran, you've got North Korea, you've got, all these different places with all these dictators, and they're all trying to become superpowers, and it never had to happen. And we still have today the ability to be able to take all these reactors and utilize that other fuel source and convert them over. So I got to thinking to myself, well, if that's the case, let's look at North Korea and the situation we're in right now. Why couldn't we just say to North Korea, okay, guys, we understand that you want to join the 21st century and have access to, relatively inexpensive and plentiful power to be able to do all the things that you want for your country. We understand that. That's fairly reasonable. What we don't like is the fact that you guys also want to make weapons and you want to threaten people, and that's not acceptable. So what if we were to create a situation where you could have as much nuclear power as you want using this other element and build your reactors and create everything that you say you want to do with your society, and we'll help you. Okay? Now we're not in a position where we're fighting each other anymore or we're arguing with each other anymore. Instead, what we're doing is we're making it possible for them to have what they want, because what they want can't threaten us and it can't threaten the world. And it can be done safely, and it can be done in a sense of community and cooperation. And see, one of the biggest problems the aliens have with us is the fact that, the first thing we always fall back on is, oh, gee, we've been threatened. Let's make a bigger threat. And, let's just, lock heads and egos and everything else and have all these disagreements and violence and death and everything else. And that kind of thing's been going on this planet for, a couple of 2,000 or 3,000 years at least. And so, we have the ability to create a solution here. I think we should probably look at it real hard.
Definitely should look at it. I mean, we're on the edge right now, so this is a brilliant idea. And we certainly appreciate you revealing this on our show, because it's a very important thing to consider. Now, these aliens, I know people are asking me, what did they look like? Did they look like us?
Pretty much. I mean, the ones that we met look like us. Like I said, they were rather large. There were two races that in this particular case, excuse me, I got a fly in here. They were, both men were, well over 6 feet tall, probably 6'3", 6'4". Looked like they could have been like linebackers for an NFL team. They were almost too perfect looking. That's one of the things that I've noticed about the ETs that I've met. They always look like they just rolled out of like a modeling show someplace in Hollywood, and they're too good looking, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's something that's been contrived, or maybe they just got really good genes, or they've got control over those genes or something. But they're incredibly good looking people. They all look like they just rolled out of GQ or something like that.
Well, I guess if they're given a choice of what they're going to look like, they picked something attractive, which is interesting. So, my gosh, you are a wealth of information because you've had so many different experiences with so many races of ETs, and you've seen the ships also.
Yes.
Flying around on your ranch. Have you been in the ships?
No. The interesting thing that one of the things is we kind of wound down with these guys after they answered a lot of questions, because I really kind of stuck it to them. I mean, I really tried to, I knew it might not be something that I was going to have a chance to do again. And so what I tried to do was get as much information as I could the first time around. And I said, look, guys, for me, the clincher is going to be, I need to see like a big old spaceship someplace. And I need to be able to satisfy myself that all the information you've given me, not only is it real, but for me, this is going to be the one big thing. And they said, well, we can show you a ship. That's not a problem. And I was like, wow, cool. So my wife and I, we went outside. We sat down on the tailgate of my Ford pickup truck, and we waited for the show to start. And these guys looked at me and they said, look over here to your left, across the street where the mountains are. And my wife and I centered our attention across the street. We looked, and lo and behold, a ship that was like the size of like an NFL stadium rolled out of the clouds. It had its own weather pattern right around it. I mean, there were like storm clouds and thunder and little bits of lightning and stuff going on around it. It was that big and that intense. It was absolutely huge. It had to be like 5 or 6 stories, high. And it was, I've never seen anything like it any place in the world that was that big. And my wife and I just looked at each other, and I said, do you see what I see? And she said, do you see a giant spaceship? And I said, yeah.
That's
and
what I'm
says, well,
seeing.
then we're either having the same exact hallucination, or we're both seeing this thing for real. And, we just stood there or sat there, and our mouths were just wide open. And then the ship kind of pulled back into the cloud bank, and one of the aliens said to me, look to the south. And we looked to the south, which was right in front of us. And from one horizon all the way to the other horizon, it was just the same ships, like edge to edge, all the way across the horizon. Goodness. And there must have been dozens of them. I don't know how many there were, but they were just there. And there was this huge red, setting sun right behind them. And it was just very impressive. Incredible. And then before we could even get used to that, all of a sudden out of nowhere was this horrific storm. I mean, Arizona has what they call monsoons, where they have like these tremendous dust storms with rain and thunder and wind that just blow up out of nowhere. And that's exactly what happened. And I mean, this was so intense. I can honestly say in all the years I've been here, I've never seen a storm come up that quickly, almost instantly, and that severely. And so Dr. B, she was standing there with these guys maybe 50 or 60 feet away from us. And all of a sudden, a giant bolt of lightning came down and struck the ground from right next to her. It was purple lightning, and I've never seen purple lightning. I've always seen like yellow lightning or white lightning or something like that. Never seen purple lightning. And it hit the ground, and she reacted, and the other two reacted, and they just ran over and got in her car, and she waved at me, and she drove away. And I thought, well, that was a really weird day. I mean, you talk about having a strange afternoon, and the two guys that beamed down, they just disappeared. I don't even know what happened to them.
Out they went.
They just went back to their ship.
One very important element that I heard you share about these aliens, they want to disclose their presence, right?
Well, you see, that was the whole thing. During the course of the afternoon that we had this conversation, I asked them, I said, well, is this a one-time deal, or can we get together on a regular basis and keep talking? Because, I got a lot more questions, and quite frankly, I haven't really been that fair with you guys. I've been kind of severe, and, I'd like to make it up to you. And, so we were able to get together a couple of times after that, different members of different races. And here in Phoenix, there seems to be some kind of draw for all these different races. There's something about Arizona, there's something about Phoenix that keeps pulling these individuals here for some reason. And so there's quite a few of them here. So it's something that I guess it can continue to be repeated. But one of the things that I found out about working with aliens, and that is that it's kind of like herding cats. They'll tell you they'll do something. They'll tell you they're going to do something, but a lot of times it's really hard to get them to follow through. Because I wanted to have like a big news conference here at the ranch, and I have the big flying saucer overhead, and have all the people that I invited be there. And I thought, man, this is going to be epic,
Hey, yeah.
And just trying to get them here, forget it. It was like,
no kidding.
Yeah. Well, they just, you get one group to agree to something, and then another group has a problem with something else, and before you know it, nobody's happy, and everybody's kind of, not working together. And I thought to myself, isn't this kind of like a human thing,
Doesn't it sound that way? Yes.
And it really was. But I haven't given up hope yet, because I know that they want certain things accomplished, and I'm working on those things. So, that's what the ranch is really all about. It's taking a really miserable, bad situation that almost everybody would have run away from, and flipping it over and turning it into something that's an example of, peace and hopefully prosperity and, good things for everybody, and something that the world can get something out of. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to take something that nobody in their right mind would want to be around and turn it into something that everybody can get something good out of.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
John, you're a very special person, a very, very special person to be able to do what you're doing. And you're so right. I mean, so many people would have run screaming into the night with this kind of thing and never looked back. They have. Yeah, and they have. That's right.
We've had some visitors that have done that.
But you're so generous of spirit, so large of heart, and all of these wonderful things you're doing with the ranch to allow people to have this experience if they're grounded enough to have it. And that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing that you're offering. And we all know disclosure is never going to come from our government, because there's no benefit to them, right?
No, there really isn't. I mean, the situation with disclosure, if you really think about it, it's kind of like if they admitted that they've been holding back on this for decades, everybody would be looking at them and saying, so why should we trust you now? And they'd also be saying, so what else were you lying to us about?
That's right. We're saying that anyways, but it would be worse.
That very thing. We're doing it anyway.
But that's the point, and I've been asked about this a few times, and I say the only way that disclosure could really happen would be if it came either like what we're doing, which is kind of grassroots, where we're just taking what we got and working with it and inviting people to participate and learn from it. And let's face it, I mean, it's kind of a weird curve, because folks not only have to get used to the idea that, we're maybe we're the dominant species on this planet in terms of numbers, but that doesn't mean that we're dominant in terms of how long we've been here. Or more important, or anything else. We have a lot to learn, and we not only need to learn from them, but we need to learn from each other. And part of that is just participating and doing it. And so, I ask everybody just to open their hearts, open their minds, and accept the fact that the only way forward is going to be through peace. It's going to be, literally through love and through kindness. And I don't think anything else is going to work, because we literally have to prove that we can get along. And so far, that's the hardest possible thing. We can send a man to the moon, we can cure cancer, we can do anything, but the one thing we don't seem to be able to do on a regular basis is get along with each other.
Well, that's true, and I think we need to show these ETs how it's done. we need to come together and start expanding our consciousness to that degree. And I want to go ahead and announce your website again, both of them.
Sure.
So for people, everybody, we're really asking you to dig deep into your pockets. Please donate to John's endeavor here. It is called Hopeful Hooves, HOOVES.org. And that is his nonprofit. It's a 501c3. You can donate, take a tax deduction, and you'll really be helping out a good cause. And his other website is alienranch.weebly, WEEBLY.com. You can contact John through that website as well. And John, we got to have you come back. This has been a wonderful evening with you. You're terrific. It's just great. Everything you're doing, we support. And anything you need from us, you just let us know. And we're going to put you on the list to come back and tell us more, because we know you have so much more to share with us. And we have such a short period of time with you tonight. But thank you so much. God bless. And next week, we're talking to Dr. J about Bigfoot. So don't miss that, everybody. And until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night.
Thank you.